Good early afternoon. We are live. We are live here on the Blue Plate Special. I'm Andy Andrews. You have joined us for the Thursday edition, the Wisdom Harbor edition of the Blue Plate Special. We have a very special Blue Plate special guest today, and we'll get to that in just a minute. We were just talking about fishing when we came on. And did you know that you counted us down 6, 7, 6, 5? Did you know you did that?
Doesn't sound like me.
Are we going?
Yeah, the iPad turned off.
Oh, well. Anyway, here we are, Wisdom Harbor Studios in beautiful downtown Orange Beach. We're in the financial district of Orange Beach on the skyscraper high atop the Crystal Barber Shop. How do you like my shirt? This is from Sand Dollar Lifestyles, the official clothier of Mr. Andrews.
Is that here?
Yeah, it is. And Monica Early is with me. Monica is the former director of protocol, the chief protocol officer for special operations.
Yes.
And she is our manners guru on Wisdom Harbor. But yes, the Sand Dollar Lifestyle is here. It's the cornerstone of the wharf.
Oh.
So it's a big store.
Check it out.
Down there. Yeah, it's on the other side, down at this end. And it looks like a bunch of different stores because they highlight different brands. But it's like a block.
Yeah.
It's huge. They have like millions of shirts and everything.
Yeah.
In there. So,
Yeah,
how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
I'm glad that you're here.
Fighting the beach traffic coming.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is kind of crazy.
It is.
Right now we've got those people who came for July 4th who wanted to extend their vacation. And so, yeah, they're here. So this is like our crowdest week of the year.
Yeah.
But this week is why we get to enjoy the last of October so much, because we have an infrastructure in Orange Beach for 300,000 people.
Right.
And then end of October, we got 5,000 of them here.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's just nobody here. You could play Frisbee on the beach road. Judith DeWitt, good morning from sunny Spokane Valley, Washington. Heather Hughes, good morning. Thank you for the blessings. Heather Olson, hey, from Utah. And we did have a great 4th of July. Dina Kilpatrick, hey. Christy Woods, my sister.
Yep.
My sister is here. Christy, we have your bowl here. So just anytime you want to come pick it up. Or I can drop it off for you. Susan Jane Weissman says it must be lunchtime in Alabama, but it's not quite lunchtime in Oregon on the coast in Port Orford. Port Orford.
Never heard it.
I haven't heard of it either. I wonder, do you guys have the Japanese floats that wash up on your beach there in Port Orford? Have you ever seen these? Mm-mm. They're big glass balls, and longliners used to use them to float the long lines, the fishing lines.
Okay.
And they still, up in Oregon, Washington State on the beaches, wash in sometimes.
Oh, wow.
So I've got a couple of them. In fact, I
look.
wonder if I've got them here or if I've got them at home. But anyway,
Yeah.
I've got some.
Yeah.
But some people collect them and they have big colors. We ought to do a bet you didn't know
Oh, that would be good.
about those, because they have, they're different sizes and different colors, and some of them are very valuable.
Wow.
But I can't believe they float around for decades and then wash up on the beach, and they're glass and they're still intact.
I know. That's awesome.
So
That would be
very
cool.
But I would be curious to find out if you've seen any in Port Orford. Today we have a very interesting topic. And this is it's a very interesting topic. You bring our protocol of the month,
Right.
our protocol tip of the month, and we've had meeting people. We've had flag protocol. We've had napkins, and we're going through. We're getting little slices in. So that we can raise kids who are going to be great adults and
Take
have-
a little at a time.
yeah, and have all the opportunities that they need. And but this month, you have really hit a nerve with me. Shirley Greenfield Cole from Amarillo, Texas. Ron Reams, hey, buddy, you're going to love this one. This is, you're going to love this topic. And when I saw the topic, I thought, wow, we need Monica to do this. I could do this one.
You probably can.
Okay, tell us what we have.
We have airplane manners,
Airplane manners.
not airport. We're going to stick just to the airplane
Right,
today.
so this is not in the airport. I mean, it
That's a
doesn't,
whole different story.
doesn't have anything to do with TSA.
No,
This is just,
strictly when you're inside the airplane.
well,
Yeah.
it doesn't even include the gate agent then.
No, we're going. That's a whole nother story too. You know.
All right. Now,
Yeah.
now this is very curious. I want to remind everybody that Monica is the person who teaches the new generals. She goes to Washington, D.C. and teaches the new generals and their spouses protocol, which is basically manners, so that they don't embarrass America as they're around. And so we figure if you can teach the generals and their spouses, if you are qualified to go to DC and teach general spouses, you can certainly teach us and our children.
I can do that.
All right. So now I've got to say I'm probably, hey Edie Jacobs, how are you doing? And Gina Christmas, how are you? I've got to say, I'm likely to add to these because I would just bet you that for every manner you list, I have a story, and
I'm sure you
and
do.
I don't
can't
mean
wait.
to. I don't mean to just like barge in, but I've sat in front of every seat kicking, smoking baby, crying and screaming at the top of his lungs.
Right.
There is.
And that's why it was so hard just to narrow it down, because I said I got to do just 10. We might not even get through 10.
Did
know,
you
but-
now? Did you talk to anybody about
did.
this?
I did.
Who did you discuss this with before you narrowed it down to 10?
Okay, so of course I do a fair amount of flying, so I have my own ideas of the manners.
Right.
But I have a cousin that's a flight attendant, and I have a friend that's a flight attendant. So I sent them a note and said, I need to do some research for some college kids I'm going to be talking to. Give me some
So this
things.
is something you've done before. I mean, obviously, and you've done it with the generals and stuff.
Right.
Okay.
So, oh my gosh, they sent me pages of things that I had to sift through, and their reasoning of why it was like it was.
Did you
But-
think they had good reasons, or
They
were
did.
were they
They
just
did.
like very emotional about it and go, I hate these people?
Well, they were kind of emotional about it, but when you can pick through the things, and find, and they said, no, here's some tips.
And I love that they told us why.
Yeah.
And you're adding your take and your wisdom to this. Okay, so tell us
Right.
number one.
Number one is greet the flight attendant with a hello and a smile.
Okay, now that would seem like some people would, some people wouldn't. And, I could hear some people going, what do I care? Okay, so why greet the flight attendant with a hello and a smile?
Well, because one, it's just a nice thing to do, and it
Right.
kind of sets a tone. To be polite, and just come on the airplane and give a little love, because a lot of people aren't lovely.
I'll give you another reason. Another reason is you're right. A lot of people aren't lovely, and you want to set yourself apart.
Right.
And so that flight attendant is standing there, and she's going, welcome aboard, and she's being ignored. She's being growled at.
Right.
She's being, she's being everything. And trust me, she spots the person who looked her in the eye and said, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Absolutely.
And may I add this? You can really set yourself apart if you can make them laugh.
That's
And
true.
Here's how I do it sometimes. I
Okay.
mean, because Hey, flight attendants sometimes need to read this list too.
This is true.
You kind of want to say, hey, okay, when you're standing there, smile. And smile and greet everybody, instead of welcome aboard. And so, but here's one thing that I do sometimes is when they say, welcome aboard, I say, hey, it's good to be here. Can I get you something to drink before we take off? They go, well, as a matter of fact. But I'm saying,
That's a good idea.
You're being remembered. And so you want to be noticed in a good way.
Right.
I mean, when they're passing the cracker basket and they give you 2 crackers instead of 1, you've
right.
really done something. Adam, our youngest, works on a boat with Captain Joe Nash. This year he's working on the Cool Change out of Zeke's Marina. And Adam showed us a picture a week ago of him holding a snapper and this little kid that was about 10 years old, with a smile. Adam said, I had the best time today with this little guy. He said it was kind of rough, and he said that kid wasn't complaining, and he would crawl from place to place so that he wouldn't fall down. And at the end of the day, he told his parents, I have a new best friend, and his name is Adam Andrews. And so Adam's showing the picture. I said, wow, that's great. And Adam said, yeah. He said, you wouldn't believe how many kids walk down the dock in the morning with their parents, with their heads down, get on the boat, never even speak to Captain, never speak to me, walk inside the salon of the boat, get their iPad out, and keep their head in their iPad the entire trip. And I said, they don't come out when it's time to fish? He said, no, sir.
Oh, man.
And I said, so does that happen often? He said, at least a couple of times a week.
That's awful.
He said, I just want to break the iPad and then go beat the crap out of their parents.
That's right.
But man, it just you really do stand out when you just say hi and smile.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I didn't mean to get so far off.
Oh, that's okay. I knew it's going to be a lively conversation here.
Listen, I get fired up as those flight attendants. All right, so what's number 2?
Be nice and orderly as you get on the airplane and get seated. The plane's not going to take off without you. I can't tell you how many times people push past. You can't even give people a chance to get in their seat. They want to get there. You don't have to be the first person on the airplane. So, just be nice.
That's what my wife says. You don't have to be the first person on the airplane.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they don't seat people from the back forward anyway.
Isn't that the truth? I mean, why wouldn't you seat them from the back forward?
It'd be so much nicer.
And everybody wants to sit in the front, but I think there is benefit of sitting in the back. I mean, you never heard of a plane backing into a mountain.
Well, that's true. I don't like the back.
Yeah, I don't really either.
Yeah. I think the seats get smaller the further back you get.
Well, it definitely gets hotter back.
Yes, it does.
So.
Yeah, it does.
Anywho, so just
be nice and orderly.
Be orderly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So listen to the flight attendant's announcement, even if you could repeat everything they say.
No, you're right. You're right. And I think, a lot of times I don't want to.
Right.
But that flight attendant, with her standing right over me sometimes,
right.
I can't just read.
No, you feel like you got to sit there.
I know. Do you know that, you remember Bart Starr?
Mm-hmm.
Bart Starr, great quarterback, MVP of the first 2 Super Bowls. And Bart, I always told Bart and his wife Cherry, I said, Bart is the nicest person I've ever met in my life, because Bart is the only person. We were sitting across from each other on an airplane one time, and he said something to me during the flight attendant's safety briefing, and Bart, when it was over, Bart apologized to her for speaking, and
Oh,
it was
wow.
just like, "Hey, we'll meet us afterwards." It was just something like that.
Yeah.
And he apologized, and I thought,
Aw.
"You're the nicest person I've ever met in my life."
Yeah.
Apologized to a flight attendant for talking during her briefing.
Yeah. Now, the one good thing about it is most of the airplanes have gone to the briefing being on your little TV projector on the
Right.
back of the seat. So it's not as important. But if you get on one of those little pedal jumpers and they're sitting there, they're standing there with the seat belt and the well, it's not a gas mask, it's an oxygen mask.
Right.
Then watch her.
Yeah.
You don't, just because you can repeat it doesn't mean you've ever used it before.
You know, on Delta, there is one flight attendant on the screen,
Right.
right, that does something that I have noticed that people who fly a lot, you just watch around, and she goes, there is no smoking anywhere on the plane. And when she does that, you look around and there'll be 50 people going, no smoking.
Well, see, they're paying
anywhere on the
attention.
plane. Yeah. So, all right,
That's
number
right.
4.
Respect your limited space. The middle seat gets the armrest.
Now that's a good rule. That's
Yep.
a good rule because there are people who don't know that rule.
Right. There are lots of people that don't know that rule.
I mean, you know, the poor middle seat person, first of all, that's just the worst place to be.
It is.
All right. And so if you got the window seat person doing this and the aisle seat person doing this, the poor middle seat person, like, nowhere to put their elbows.
Right.
And so, you know, if you're on the aisle, you can kind of lean a little bit and do that. And
That's
if
right.
you're on the window, you can lean a little bit.
Right.
That's a good rule. I wish they would post that rule.
Yeah. It would be nice to have that on the back of the seat.
Yeah.
We'll start pushing that. Middle
Speaking
seat.
of pushing, I got another. I don't know if you have this or not.
Go ahead.
But you know the screens, the movie screens on
Right.
the back, and of course there's not just movies. There's games.
Right.
And there, you know, trivia contests and all. And I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to turn around and go, hey, I just want to make you aware that that screen is a touch screen. It's not a push your finger through the back of my head screen. You know, as people go, the answer is Journey, J-O-U-O. It's on. It's like, God, it's a touch screen. You know, but you wake up to people going, boom, 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 boom.
That's right.
Is that funny to you, Monica?
Because I can see it.
Well, I know. It's like, golly. And you would think, and here's another. While I'm on the topic, when people are getting in and out of their seat, it's like, be aware that there is somebody attached to that seat that you're grabbing hold to pull yourself up out of your seat. I mean, these people, they'll get up out of their seat and
That's right.
and they'll walk like this, and then and you're sitting there going, and then there's the flight attendants. The flight attendants too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you'll have a flight attendant, and they'll lean over, like they'll be talking to somebody. They're talking to somebody like here, and this is
you.
Mm-hmm. And they'll sit there and go, yeah, we just, oh yeah, oh, and well, oh yeah, what? Do you know him? Yeah, we fly out of there. Yeah, it's like, yeah.
I'm glad
Okay.
you added that.
Okay, I've got a little bit of that out now. Okay. I mean, that's just reality.
It is. It is. It is. It's very funny today. Not not very funny when you're on the airplane.
Yeah, it's funny because we're here.
Right.
It's not
We
funny.
should have done this from the airplane.
Oh, we could. I've always thought I would like to do one of those briefings.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, I'm Andy Andrews. Now that you had your safety briefing, let me tell you a few other things.
Oh, man. Okay. That's funny. Okay. We should have thought about doing it from the airplane. Oh, my goodness. Okay. Number 5.
Number 5.
Don't bring stinky food.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my God, you got somebody goes, I brought this peanut butter sandwich from home. Do you want a half of it? So God, please. Or people would stop and get a sandwich in the airport. I got extra garlic on my sandwich. I have mine with sliced onions. It's like, oh God. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Or at least if you're going to bring it for your seatmate so y'all can all have a sandwich together, But yeah, no stinky food.
yeah, sometimes people will bring and I'm like, okay, bring a sandwich, bring a.
Right. Just bring a turkey and cheese.
Yeah, sometimes I see people they'll pull out Chinese food, it's
Right.
like with a whole tray and
Right.
everything, and it's like, oh man.
Yeah. Yep. So just remember that.
No stinky food.
That's right. That's right. Number 6. Take your book or computer out of the overhead bag before you sit down.
Unless you're on the aisle.
Okay. I'll give you that. But, it's always crazy. Put your overhead, put it up there, and then somebody gets in, and then 5 minutes after you've taken off, then the window seat person said, I need to get my computer
Yeah,
to work.
I know it. It's like, holy cow, didn't you know you were going to do that? You
Right.
saw it was a 14-hour flight.
Right.
Didn't you know?
Right.
But sometimes I'll sit in the bulkhead.
Okay.
And if I'm in the bulkhead, I'm in the aisle.
Right.
Okay, I'm bulkhead aisle, not one of those inner.
Right.
And in the bulkhead, you can't have anything at your feet.
Right.
And so sometimes, and the overhead fills up.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes I'll sit down and somebody will be, somebody will have some big thing and they'll put it at their feet. And God bless me. I shouldn't even care. But I'll think, they're not going to have a place for that in a few minutes. And so I say, hey, just to let you know, I'll be glad to put that in the overhead if you want, because they won't let you keep it there.
Right.
They go, no, I'm fine. Thank you.
They're going to
Okay.
defy.
Okay, you're fine. And then the flight attendant will come on and go, I need to put that in the overhead. And they'll go, no, I'm fine. No, it needs to go in the overhead.
Right.
I bet I need it with me. You can get it after we take off. FAA regulations has to go in the overhead.
Right.
Okay. And then the flight attendant will take it and start walking this way. They go, where are you going? Well, there's no space
That's
in the
right.
overhead. Here, we've got to go 100 feet back. And of course, I sit there like,
That's right. Well, then wait till that person gets off the plane.
oh yeah.
And then they got to
walk
go
all
all the way back. Yeah, they won't get off. Yeah, you got to think about those things. Yep. All right. Think before you recline. Who are you going to... I know it doesn't go very far, but that little bit can squeeze somebody, or if they're eating and have their tray.
Polly and I went to Charleston last week, and I had this. I've had this before, and it drives me crazy, where your seat won't stay up.
Yeah.
You sit down and it just does this, and you come back up, you click with the thing a little bit, and it's down. And it just won't stay up. And of course, you don't dare tell the flight attendant, because then they'll call a mechanical and get everybody off the plane. And people think that I'm
It's the truth.
I'm lying about that, but it's the truth. Do you know, we were in Nashville. I was flying out of Nashville. This was like maybe 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Flying out of Nashville, and everybody's already on the plane. And you can see we're getting past, it's already past the time to push away from the gate.
Gosh.
And wait. And I'm looking, and I'm seeing, some guys with the yellow jackets and the reflector tape,
not good.
talking to the pilot. And I'm like, yeah, this is not good. And it was a Sunday afternoon. And sure enough, the pilot gets on and says, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be holding here at the gate for a little while. We have a mechanical issue. And the part, no, he said, and the person to fix this is not at the airport right now. And that person is on the other side of the city. And so we've already put a call in, and he is on his way, but it may be an hour before he gets here to take care of this issue. And so we're all like, okay, I mean, nobody wants to fly with a plane that might be, going down.
Right.
So, he was like, okay. And so he was talking, and after like an hour goes by, he's almost here. And so then 15 minutes, hour 15, the guy comes in, and he walks by my seat, and I notice that he has nothing in his hand but a roll of duct tape.
Oh, no.
And so I immediately get up, and I follow him. I wonder if I could find this. We'll put it on something. But I immediately follow him all the way to the back of the plane, and where there is an overhead bin
Right.
that just will not stay closed.
Oh, no.
And so he
duct
duct tapes the bin. And I said, so you're the only guy that could do this? And he just looked at me. And so I backed up, and I took several pictures
Right.
of him duct taping the bin. And the flight attendant said, sir, are you taking pictures of that? And I said, I certainly am. I absolutely am taking pictures of it. And people were so mad, but it's like, okay, so the union says that,
Only he can do
only
it.
he, and of course it was a Sunday, so he got paid double
Oh, yeah.
time,
Yeah.
for coming. And
He probably had to stop at Home Depot and get the tape.
but that just drives me crazy. So
I had to wait on a tire to get flown from Atlanta so we could have an extra tire. I don't know why. I mean, don't airports keep tires? But apparently,
you would think,
yeah.
you would think, but I've had. I mean, if we wanted to sit here all day,
We could talk about.
right? You remember Eastern Airlines?
Vaguely.
Vaguely. How many years has Eastern Airlines been out of business? Maybe 30 years?
Yeah, probably.
They've been out of business 30 years. When they went out of business, I had 2 million miles on Eastern.
Oh no.
So think of how many miles I have on, I have like 4 million miles on Delta,
Yeah.
a couple of 3 million on American, a couple of 3 million on, I've got some stories for you, baby. I've got some stories, you could really fire me up today. We'll have to do this again and just kind of gripe, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Oh, here's my favorite one.
Uh-oh.
Keep your shoes on.
So no stinky food and no stinky feet.
Right. Well, and this one was also both of my cousin and my friend said that the worst thing they've ever seen is that people take their shoes off and then they walk to the bathroom in their sock feet.
Really?
Yeah. I just can't imagine.
So just remember that. Next time you're on a plane, keep your shoes on. All right? I mean, when you're in public, don't take your shoes off. Nobody wants to look around your feet or your shoes. So keep them on. I'm talking to you.
Exactly.
That's a good one. It's a good
Yeah,
one.
it is a good one. Okay. Don't escalate a conflict.
What are you talking about? Why do you say that? Why you say that? Why you say it that way?
Well, and you don't want to get in the middle of anybody either, you know.
Isn't that the truth? I
Yeah.
mean, it is.
You could be right, and 9 times out of 10, you are right. But
But you just yeah.
don't. It's
You know, you got to be careful now. It's a different world after 9/11 because you can get a flight attendant that has a little chip on her shoulder or a little Barney Fife in her.
right.
And, you know, I mean, I saw, in fact, on a Charleston flight the other day, there's something that happened and the flight attendant told the guy, I mean, you know, he's putting something in, and she says, "Sir, that won't fit." And he says, "I've already got it in." She says, "Sir, it won't fit." He goes, "Ma'am, I've already got it in." She says, "Sir, take that." And he jerks it out. You know, I mean, he's already got it in. He jerks it out. And so he's walking away, and she says, "Do we have a problem, sir?" And he goes, "No." She goes, "Are you sure we?" And I'm like, "Okay." I mean, I didn't say that. I didn't say anything, but it's like, I see what you're saying
Yeah.
about not escalating.
Right. You don't want to get thrown off the airplane just for trying to help. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't help if there's a need, but
Right.
usually
you
it's
choke somebody out if they're threatening people with a
Right.
knife,
Right.
but then you can get arrested for murder. So even if you save everybody, you can be arrested for murder, I'm sure.
yeah. But just don't get in the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get in a fight. Good grief. Yeah, there was a guy sitting next to me. It was one of the times I got to fly in first class. And I'm sure it was upgraded. I'm sure it was an accident. But the guy sitting in the window, I was on the aisle. I'm always the aisle, you know. I mean, you know, even if I've been assigned a window seat, I'll sit in the aisle hoping the other person will think, I'm beside the window. And if they go, "Oh, you're in my seat," I go, "You sure you don't want this wonderful window seat?" But so this guy, you know, and in first class, they offer you something to drink before you take off.
Right.
And so it was an international flight. And so for some reason, international flights, they don't offer you a drink that you can have orange juice or a mimosa, which is orange juice and champagne
Right.
mixed. And so this guy is sitting there, and you know, some people take their first class attitude.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh God, you know, I mean, just be grateful you got a little bit bigger seat.
That's
Don't
right.
lord it over. And so, but the flight attendant comes up, she has this tray, and she says, "Would you like an orange juice or a mimosa?" I said, "I'll take an orange juice." And so she says to him, she says, "Would you like an orange juice or a mimosa?" He said, "I would like, if you would mix orange juice and champagne." And she said, "A mimosa." And he goes, "No, I want orange juice and champagne." She said, "Right, a mimosa." He says, "You're not hearing me." And by this time, flight attendant and I are looking at each other. You know, she's like right here. And he goes, "You're not hearing me." And she says, okay, say it again. He says, I want an orange juice, and I want you to mix in champagne. and I said to the flight attendant, I said, you got that? And she goes, I think I do. And so she just moves on, and I'm thinking, what an ass. You know, it's God.
You should just turn around and walk back with the same glass and hand it to you.
Oh, God. You know.
Yeah, I don't get people.
There was a flight attendant. I wish I could tell you what flight this was on, but it was on Delta, and the flight attendant was very old. Old. She was just an old lady. That's all you could say.
Yeah.
And she was awesome, and she had been a flight attendant since 1950 something or something like this. And she said, I have 16 more flights and I'm done. And so anyway, she's sitting there, and you know, there's that alcove right there that they stand in sometime. And so some guy came on the plane and was just like griping about something, and she tried to handle it, and he's just griping and blah 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 blah. And she said, "Well, sir, well, I'm never gonna fly this airline again." He was like, "Oh no, not that. We'll just shut down." And I don't know what she said, but she just handled it very nice. And this guy was just big, and so when he walked by, the person sitting next to me and I are like, she's like right there, and he's walked right here, and she looks at us and just pauses for a second. Then she reaches in her purse and pulls out an aerosol spray and goes, shh, like that. And then she shows us, and it has asshole spray. We cracked up. Now you might need to bleep that before we put it on Wisdom Harbor, but I had to say that. It's just, I have never seen that before, and I just thought it was but she did that.
I would have died laughing if I had seen that. I have to ask my cousin if she's ever had.
I bet she's seen it before.
Oh, I'm pretty sure, because she worked a long time. She worked for Northwest and then Delta, so yeah, she just recently retired after, I won't say how many years, because then that'll age her. Oh, man.
So what do we got?
Okay. Bring treats for the flight attendant or maybe your seatmates if you're on a long flight. So just bring chocolate. Hand it to them as you're leaving.
Would you eat something from somebody that's sitting next to you that you didn't know?
If they made it, I might not. But if it's packaged in a, you know.
Hey, just remember, Ted Bundy looked normal.
Oh no. All right, don't give it to your seatmate.
He seems like a nice guy. Yeah, could I? Yeah, I'd be glad to eat those cookies. Yeah.
I did not the homemade cookies, because you don't know what their kitchen was, you know, but.
Hey, Tylenol, that was totally packaged. It was all wrapped up. It was taped up. It looked good. Yeah, here, you just look like you got a headache. Would you like some Advil?
Oh, no.
I got some chewing gum.
Now you're gonna make me take this off my list.
Here, let me give you a piece of chewing gum. That's just sugar. It's not arsenic. Here, go ahead. Oh yeah. I'm gonna take some food from somebody that I don't know. Yeah. Here, I've got a ham in my purse. I got a ham, and yeah, we just cooked this ham last year.
You could bring a Twix bar or a.
Yeah, a Twix bar. Yeah, we were just in the stall in the bathroom, and we injected this Twix bar with cyanide. We boiled out of castor beans ourselves, and we put the cyanide in the Twix bar. Here, would you like one? Oh yes, thank you, please. Yes, and I'll be glad to eat it, because the chief director of protocol for Wisdom Harbor said to bring treats for friends.
Okay, we're gonna scratch that one off.
Okay, yeah, I'm scratching that one. Whew, yeah, don't eat. I mean, you know, you're in the airport and your kids are there, and then some old man goes, "You want some candy, kids?" Yeah. Oh, here, yeah, sure. We don't know this guy, but eat the candy. Yeah. You remember, don't take candy from strangers?
Yes.
Listen, don't take candy from anybody. I mean, if you don't know them and hadn't seen their passport and seen them baptized or something, don't eat their candy. If you don't know where they live and where they work.
Okay, I'll let my 2 flight attendant friends know that was not a good one for them.
Yeah, don't do that. Oh my God. You know who taught me my first lesson about that?
Who's that?
Joe Bonzel
Okay.
with the Oak Ridge Boys.
Okay.
Joe Bonzel, the high tenor of the Oak Ridge Boys. When I was their opening act, we were doing fairs, and I had just started doing Nashville Now on the Nashville Network, and people had just started recognizing me. And so I was walking around the fairgrounds. They couldn't, of course, but you know, really nobody knew who I was. And so I'm walking around and I hear Andy, and I turn and it's a mother and daughter. And they said, "Hey, we can't wait for the show." And I said, yeah, we're glad you're here. And they said, "Hey, we brought these cookies for you." And I said, "Oh, wow, thanks. I'll make sure the guys get them." They said, "No, we brought them for you." I said, "Really, for me?" And they said, "Yeah, we knew you were going to be here with the Oak Ridge Boys, and we watch you on TV, and we make these cookies for you." And I'm like, "For me? Oh my gosh, wow, yeah, really for me? No, for you, really? Wow." I was just blown away, and so you know, I thanked them and took pictures with them, and then I went in the bus, and there's William Lee and Dwayne and Richard and Joe sitting there. They look up when I come in. I say, "Hey guys." They say, "Hey Andy, what you got?" And I said, "Well, I met a lady and her daughter, and they brought me cookies. They watch me on Nashville Now, and they brought me cookies that they made." And Joe said, "Wow, can I see those?" I said, "Sure." And so he takes the plate, walks over to the garbage can, dumps them in the garbage can, plate and all. And I said, "What?" And he said, "Don't you ever eat any of this food these people bring you." I said, "Really?" He said, "You don't know anything about these people. You don't know why they brought you food. You don't know that maybe you looked at them wrong one day. Maybe you didn't look at them when they wanted you to look at them. You don't eat this food that people bring you, and you don't know who they are." I'm like, "Okay."
Oh, man.
So that's the genesis of the don't eat candy from strangers on airplanes.
Well, I'm glad I have a substitute for number 10 then.
What is your substitute?
Only make a quick phone call from the airplane if needed. I can't tell you how many. I mean, I could learn everything about somebody just because they're talking on the phone
Loudly.
Yes.
Yeah, I was like, and if you do make a call, just
make it quick.
Make it quick and talk softly.
Yeah, I'm on the airplane.
This is amazing.
I'll see you when I get there.
It's amazing technology.
Right.
It can hear you talking like this.
Right. Absolutely.
I mean, but you'll hear people behind you going, "Well, tell him I said that we'll be there." "Yes." "Okay. All right. Yeah, Thursday." "Well, what else is going on?" They're like, "Holy crap." So.
Yep. I've wanted to answer them before, you know.
Well, I must admit that a couple of times I have picked up my phone just like I did there, and I've said, and I've started answering them. You know, I said, "Well, where are you going?" "I'm going to the beach." And people around are just dying laughing because I'm just answering the questions as loud as the guy's talking. You know, people are laughing, and then the guy hang up, and I'll say, "See you later," and I'll put my phone down, and everybody's cracking up, and the guy has no idea that I've done it. But that, you know, that is what I call the only person in the world syndrome.
Right.
You know, you see this sometimes at the top of or at the bottom of escalators. You know, so somebody will get to the top of the escalator and just stop and look like, where do I go next? And never aware that there might be anybody else on the escalator just like running right. Or you see it when you're in an elevator and the elevator door opens and there'll be people standing right there waiting to get, it's like, you know, in America, we let people off the elevator before we get on. That's what you want to say. But that's the only person in the world syndrome. In the Atlanta airport,
oh my God,
I was able to snap a picture of this. But you know how crowded those concourses can be.
Yeah.
And so a guy was walking down the concourse, and his phone rings, and as God is my witness, he goes down to one knee in the middle of the concourse, opens up his briefcase, and has that call, and people folding around him. And
oh man,
do you think you're the only person in the world?
Right. Yep.
Sheesh.
I know.
Thankfully, we, you know, these are things that we, you know, our boys had the opportunity to travel a lot. And, you know, you can't always, well, rarely can four people sit together.
Right.
And so it's always 2 and 2. And, you know, from the time our boys were 5 and 7, they were sitting by themselves. But man, all the way from 5 to 7, all the way up until they were teenagers, after the flight, you know, because I would always go to their seat and say, "You guys okay?" "Yes, sir." "Okay. All right, you know how to act." And, and after the flight, invariably, people would, like, we would get off first, and we'd be standing out there, and people would come out and say, "Hey, those 2 boys out there, are those your boys?" "They are." "Well, I just want to tell you, we were not happy when we saw them sitting there, you know, because we thought, oh, this is going to be a horrible flight. But those are the 2 best behaved kids." And I said, "Well, they better be," because they knew that you could spank them and we'd be fine with it.
Right.
But it's you know, it's navigating society.
Right.
The airplane is a metaphor for us all living together in our neighborhoods, and you know, different colors, different backgrounds, different ages, and we want to get along. We really want to get along.
Right.
And yeah, we have some curmudgeons every now and then, and it's better to laugh at them than fight them.
That's right.
So
yeah. No, you're exactly right. Just show a little kindness.
What is we're you know, I think this is probably a good place to stop. But let me just tell you one more story.
Okay.
I could have owned American Airlines. I could have owned them.
Yeah.
If I was a litigious type of person. But I was on a plane. This was like 10 years ago. And so the flight attendant's coming around and say, "Before we take off, would you like anything to drink?" And I said, "Could I have a coffee, please?" She said, "Absolutely." So she comes back and in a minute or two and has the coffee. And she comes back and says, "Hey, I got to brew it." And so I said, "No, it's no hurry." And so she comes back, and I've drank half my thing of coffee. And then the pilot gets on as we're about to pull away from the gate, and he said, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to let you know that we will be serving on the plane, but there won't be any coffee available because the non-potable water has been the tank is not clean and it's not tested right, and so we won't be able to get any of the we won't be able to brew coffee.
Oh no.
And I looked at this, and that flight attendant stuck her head out of the of that little cubby hole and looked at me, and I went,
oh no.
and she comes, she says, you've already drank some of that, hadn't you? And I said, yeah, about half of it. And we just kind of sat there and looked at each other for a minute.
Oh,
and,
no.
And so then she said, let me get some paperwork for you. And so she gave me paperwork about her name, the pilot's name,
Oh,
the
wow.
flight number, the times, the blah, 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 blah. And she said, if there's any issues at all, And so about 5 hours later, I was throwing up. I was in a hotel room throwing up. But it didn't last long. In the hotel, I didn't call a doctor. I just, I got sick for a while, and then I was okay the next morning. But I thought, these are the kind of things that people push.
Right.
These are the kind of people who go, I would like the Denver terminal. I was so sick, I think you owe me the Denver terminal.
Right.
Yeah. But that's just
Wow.
one of those things. So, and I mean, she didn't mean to do it.
Right.
Nobody knew.
Right.
And so I thought, man, what the heck.
Wow. But you are right. People take advantage of that.
But that's what, in that kind of thing, that's why it costs so much. I mean, everything goes up because people
Right.
do that.
Right.
Everything costs more
Right.
because, companies have to figure that into their plan.
That's right.
So,
Yep.
and on that sad note, but thank you for being here for this protocol tip of the month. We
Yeah.
love having you here to do this.
I enjoy it. And hopefully somebody will just be more observant and be nicer on the airplane the next time they fly.
I want to hear from some people. I want to hear some stories, and maybe next time before we start our next protocol tip, we can read
See
some
what
crazy
stories.
stories.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you.
That'd be great. Great to be here.
Okay, so the Blue Plate Special is not really over yet. That's just the recording for the protocol tip of the month. So this was great.
Yeah, I know.
I mean,
cracking me up.
but I'm sitting there thinking, I'm sitting here like editing in my mind. I mean, which stories we have time to even talk about.
Right.
Because I really do. I have a lot of stories.
It's always fun to go and just people watch, And it was funny. I remember when I had heart surgery years ago, and my doctor said the only way I could fly this was pre-mask times, was to wear a mask, and it was so interesting watching people. I chose the window seat because of that, so people that passed me wouldn't think I was carrying something, and I made sure as soon as they sat down, it was like they wanted to stay away from me, and I at first I didn't want to say anything, but then I told them, I had heart surgery, and the only way I can fly is to wear this mask. I'm not sick, and man, just the relief,
right?
From the people that were sitting beside me, but it was quite comical.
Yeah, well, I mean, during the pandemic, everybody's wearing a mask,
Right?
But it was also very curious to me how during the pandemic, it's like, the parking deck is behind the studio here.
Right.
Every day, how many times a day? 2 or 3 times a day, somebody's car alarm goes off out there. I mean, it's like, nah, nah, And you can be walking across the parking lot during the pandemic and hear that. No, nobody even looks, but you hear somebody.
That's right.
Right. Hey, before we go, I can tell you what I think is my funniest airline story.
Okay.
And it wasn't even me.
Oh.
Okay, but there is. I don't know if you're familiar with the Goads. They are a Christian group.
Okay.
And so Kurt Goad is he's one of the brothers. This is two brothers and a sister. And so Kurt, one of the brothers, he is like his ADD makes me look like I'm a turtle. Okay, I mean, Kurt can't pay attention to anything. Okay, and he, in fact, one time I saw him in the airport. I was getting my shoes shined, and Kurt came up and started talking to me and talked to me. I said, "Well, I guess I better catch my flight." And he turned around and he goes, "Well, where is everybody?" And I said,
left
"What was
him?
your flight?" He said, "Oh, it was right here." I said, well, "Kurt, they were gone 10 minutes ago." You know, "Oh, really?" Just totally missed flight. Just had his back to him, right? All right. So anyway, Kurt and his brother and sister sing at this church on Sunday morning. Now, they had to get up early. They did set up the merchandise, set up all the stuff. They do 2 services. They get their merchandise, sell their merchandise, put it all up, and then they got to get to the airport. And so they haven't eaten. They hadn't had breakfast.
Oh, wow.
Anything. All right. And Kurt's kind of a big guy. All right. So they board the plane, and he's starving. All right. He is starving. And so Kurt, they board the plane, and he's a big guy, and so he gets a window seat. He's like stuffed over here. So now next to him there's the middle seat and the aisle seat. And as people get on, there's a guy who's kind of a big guy, and he gets in the middle seat.
Oh, man.
And his wife or girlfriend is taking the aisle. So Kurt's already kind of, he's kind of crammed in here. And so naturally, he's starving. So when the flight gets going, flight attendant comes down, and she's got crackers,
Right.
crackers, the little cookies, the little biscotti cookies.
Yeah.
So the lady takes a couple. This man, he takes. She has her. Kurt's like, and he gets. I have to say, I'm sorry, I hadn't. And so Kurt's like, and the couple here, he's kind of angled away from Kurt a little bit and talking to the lady. But Kurt, he's like, and they hadn't come by with a drink cart yet. It's just the crackers, and so but they get kind of dry. They're dry. He ain't got anything to drink. But he's starving, so he's eating them. And so he said, this guy's talking with his hands, and Kurt coughs, and he coughs out a wet chunk
Oh, no.
of kind of chewed up cookie, and it lands on this dude's arm. And the guy's still talking, and Kurt's like, he says, "I don't know what to do. I don't know. Should I reach out and brush it off? Should I tell him, oh, excuse me?" And he said, before I can figure out what to do, the guy says to the woman, "Well, look at me. I can't keep anything in my mouth." And Kurt's like, I don't know if that's the best airplane story, or the funniest airplane story, or the grossest airplane story.
Oh, my God.
But I can't keep anything in my mouth. Oh. So now, every time I hear Christian music from the Goads, I always think, praise the Lord, I can't keep anything in my mouth.
I don't know what to say.
Thank you for being with us.
I'm
You
so
can't
happy
stop-
to be here.
You can't stop laughing long enough to tell everybody goodbye. So we'll say goodbye for you. So for Monica Early,
It's been great.
yeah, and for me, we've had a great time. We will see you Tuesday.